the cash is the king. You freeing yourself. You're opening time, so you don't even need so many people because the computer does everything for you. If you watch this video till the end, you will definitely learn the 5 key ways how to cut costs and maximize profits in your business. Working with business owners over 26 years, what I have discovered is that many of them don't pay attention to their operating costs and they don't look for the ways on how to cut the operational costs to maximize their profits. But those that do pay attention and utilize all the possibilities that are out there, actually getting the best results, they scale their businesses, maximize their profits, and create the dream life that they desire for themselves and their families. I'm Rivkin, an expert in financial freedom and business growth. For over 26 years, I've been helping business owners to discover up to 100,000 in hidden cash in just one session with my signature system. And if you would like to take advantage of that, you can click the link and schedule a strategy session with me. Why is this important to pay attention to the operating cost and know the numbers? So actually, let me tell you a story that I just recently experienced with one of our clients. So he is in the construction business, and what we do is on our monthly sessions, we do strategic tax planning as well as CFO services. So when we do CFO services for that particular client, what we do is we identify how much gross came into the business during the month, what was the cost of the goods sold, what was the overhead, diving deep into all the expenses. So since we do this on a monthly basis, what we were able to identify is that we found out that his cost of goods sold went up by 35%. And then his revenue went up by 15%. So you might be thinking, oh, but revenue went up by 15%. And that's what he was thinking, that he's doing good, he's making more money than what was he doing last year. But then on the other hand, now if you look at his cost of goods sold, which went up by 35%, what it means is that he's actually losing 20%. Gross went by 15 up, cost of goods sold by 35. There's a 20% gap, which comes out just from where? From his pocket, meaning instead of actually making more money, now he's losing his money. So the next question I was asking him is, okay, why is this happening? Does he know what's going on? Is this because the material started costing more? Is there because there's a delivery involved in the cost of goods sold? So basically, knowing these numbers, we were able to open up this whole conversation. So he started thinking, so now once we identified that his cost of goods sold went up by 35%, what it means is now that he needs to pass this cost to his clients. So meaning that he needs to raise his prices. Knowing these numbers, it's very important, because otherwise, if you don't know the numbers, if you don't know how much the cost of goods sold went up, or if you like in any kind of services, how much you're paying your employees, how much you're paying for the rent, for all of these expenses, that means is that you're losing the money, the cash flow is low, the cash doesn't accumulate, and then it affects the bottom line, which means that you're not bringing any money home, and maybe at some point you will need to bring money from home into the business. So knowing how much you spend in the business, knowing all the operational costs and where you can cut and what you can do is very essential for the business if you want to make money in the business. And I'm sure you want to make money in the business, because otherwise, why did you even start this business? You started because you had a passion, because you had a dream, a vision. You wanted to build something, share it with the world, and of course, bring it back to your family so you can enjoy your life and your family can enjoy it with you. So the first way that I would suggest is automate all the tasks. So let me just talk about this client in particular. So the reason that he didn't know what was going on in the business until we pointed out to him is because what they're doing is that he has a person who does all this invoicing and the collections, receivable and payable, everything is done by hand. You see, but once you automate, once you have everything in the system, and then especially today, we're living in this world of all this technology, it's so much easier. So then this way, once everything is in the system, then what you can just do is you can pull up all these reports on a monthly basis, quarterly basis. I mean, ideally to do this like on a monthly basis, so this way you can know how much money coming in and how much coming out. So this old ways of working, having everything in the papers and writing everything in the papers, it's gone. Everything needs to be in the system, so you can just by the click of the mouse, you can just open it up and see how much is outstanding, how much is needs to be coming in, how much you need to be paying. So automating everything is very essential for the business. Another reason automation is good is because what it does, it cuts the cost and it saves you lots of time. So instead of, again, using the human force today to write everything down, log everything down, once everything is in the system, it reduces the labor cost. So you don't even need so many people working and doing this task because the computer does everything for you. I remember actually the days when I just started in my career. I remember we used to do everything by hand, like literally doing the tax returns, the payroll, everything by hand. So that took so much of my time and we had to have so many employees. But today you don't need to have so many employees. Today computer and having all these apps and systems, everything can be done, and that just reduces the salary, the cost of having all this overhead in the employees. If you haven't done this, then definitely this is the way to go today in the businesses. The old ways of working 20-30 years ago, these are gone. You just gotta advance yourself, and this is the number one thing that I see with small businesses, that many are still doing the business the way they used to do it 20-30 years ago. But guys, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you, it doesn't serve you any longer and you're losing lots of money on that. The second way is review your receivables. Why is this important? Well, because this is the money that you collect, and obviously it's important. The more you collect, the faster you collect, the more money you're gonna have on your bank account. So let me share you a story from my own experience, the way I used to operate. So the way I used to operate is that the clients used to come to me and then they would bring me all the papers, and then I will work throughout the year to prepare for them tax returns. And then when the tax return is due, so the tax return, let's say if it's a personal April 15th, then I will file the return, we will call them, and then they will come and they will pay us. So if it's just a personal tax return, then it used to be like 3-4 months that I have to wait for the payment to actually receive. But then I have employees who I have to pay, and I have to pay them every week or maybe every other week. It's not like they're getting paid only once every 3-4 months. Now look at it this way, if that client wanted to send their tax return on extension and they would come back like in September or October, so that means that I have to wait for the next 9-10 months to receive the payments, while I still have all the expenses, paying my employees, paying the rent, paying the taxes. Yes, I do pay the taxes as well. So what it means for the business is that now I'm losing the money, or I'm possibly bringing money from home or using my profits to pay for all these expenses. So, and I see actually this happening with many business owners as well. So like in particular, I was sharing with you the story in the prior case with my client about his cost of goods sold. So, and besides his cost of goods sold that went up, what also happened is that he was collecting the payments from his clients like 6 months later, 7-8 months later. So again, what it meant for him is that the cash flow is low. So this is definitely not the right way of doing the business, because you always want to make sure that you collect the money upfront, ideally upfront. So the way that I did in my business, so what we started doing is that we started collecting the payments upfront, and at the same time we started offering a subscription-based model. So basically the client's paying us every month. That meaning that, you know, I get the money, then now I can pay for all these expenses that I have, and I don't have to wait for the next 6, 9, 10 months until the client decides to pick up his tax return. And the same thing that I've suggested to the client that we're working with. At least if you cannot get the whole payment up front, what you can do is you can calculate what is your cost of that project and then take the deposits. So this way you will cover your payroll, the materials, all the costs that are associated with the project. And once the project is complete, then you can get the rest of the payment. So that's the best way of going if you cannot receive the whole payments up front. Try to get it all up front, as the cash is the king, and you always want to make sure that you're getting all the payments and you have enough cash on your bank account. The third way is outsourcing. So what does it mean financially outsourcing? It means outsourcing the task that can be done by the lower cost. So if, let's say today, and I use this a lot, virtual assistant, so administrative work. So something that the work that you outsource to others, so you leverage others' time, you leverage others' knowledge, but then at the same time, you're not paying a lot of money for that. Why is this important? So let's say like, my business in US, if your business in US, so we have, if you hire someone on a salary, then we have to pay minimum wage. We also have to provide the insurance, all these benefits. So if you add all of this up, then eventually it's gonna cost the company a lot of the money. And then like for the task that doesn't provide you lots of the income. So then in that case, what you can do is you can outsource this kind of tasks to someone where it's not gonna cost you that much. And there is a lot of different tasks that can be outsourced. So whether it's virtual assistants, where it's like something that has to do with the IT, with the marketing, I use outsourcing a lot in my business. And another thing is that like for you to hire someone to work full-time, and if you don't need someone to work full-time in that position, outsourcing is a great way. So this way you can just hire people for a certain amount of tasks that needs to be done and then just pay them per project versus having someone on a payroll and just sitting doing nothing and then getting this paid. This is why it's very important. Here's another reason why it's important, and this is what I see a lot happening with the business owners, is because it costs a lot to hire someone to do the work. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to do everything themselves. They're thinking, oh my God, okay, I need to hire that person, I need to pay them the minimum wage, all this insurance, all the benefits, it's gonna cost me a lot. So, and instead of hiring someone, they're trying to do everything themselves. This is where the outsourcing works perfectly, is because you're hiring based on project, and this way you don't have to just hire one person. You can have like 10 people and each one of them just does that specific project that you would need them to do. For me, for instance, I have virtual assistants that I am outsourcing. I have IT. I have the person who helps with the social media, with the content, with the writing. So you see, like I don't need to have just one person. Then I can have like 10, 12, 15 people in my team helping me with all these different tasks. You save the money, but then on the other hand, you make me money. Why? Because you freeing yourself, you're opening time that instead of doing all these daily tasks yourself, you're outsourcing them, and then instead of working in the business, you're actually working on the business, you're strategizing and coming up with different ideas. So it's a win-win situation, and it works great for the business growth and cutting the cost as well. The fourth way is reviewing your payables. So what does that mean? If you're in the business, then you have payables, means that you pay others. So you pay salary, you pay insurance, you pay for the services, for utility, whatever other expenses that you have. So here's what I found out. Just like I shared with you prior that cash flow is the king, it's the oxygen, it's the blood to the business. So you want to accumulate cash and you want to have as much as possible and more in your account. So therefore you want to receive more, but then on the other hand, whenever you're paying someone else, you want to pay them as late as possible. So here's what I found out. So some businesses that we were working, like we identified that they were paying their employees every week. So what we suggested is instead of paying them every week, to switch them on bi-weekly or even semi-monthly. And then what it provides for the business, basically, it just provides you possibility as the business owner to hold down to that cash versus giving it right away. Ideally is identify what are the expenses that you have. How often do you pay them? I remember even I had some business owners that came to me, so they didn't like to have that on themselves. So one of them, he prepaid the rent for the whole year. I was like, okay, why would you want to do this? If you can hold down to this money, you need to hold down to this money. Why is this important? Because think of it this way. So in that case, that particular client who prepaid his whole rent for the whole year, I think it was like about like 100 grand for the whole year. Instead of actually giving this 100 grand, he just pays his monthly rent. Okay, so let's say it's like about $8,000, and then the other 92,000 he can invest, reinvest, invest in business growth or any other projects. So like, why would you give this cash to someone else to invest and earn more money? Here's the key thing: money makes money. So you always want to make sure that you have more money, so then this way you can make more money with that. So the same thing applies to everything: paying your employees, paying your vendors. If you need to pay your vendors like in the 30 days, 60 60 days. Do not rush paying them beforehand. Pay them. I mean, I'm not saying like pay it exactly on your due date, but at least like a couple of days before that. So, and it applies with everything. If you're paying insurances, the leases, whatever other expenses, so you want to hold down to the cash. So this way you can utilize this cash to make more money. The fifth way is track spending with data. Why is this important? Because you want to know how much you're making and how much you're spending. What I always love to say is what gets done gets measured. So if you're not measuring that, you don't know what needs to be done. If you're not measuring, you don't know how much you're earning, how much you're spending. You don't know if you need to cut the cost, if you need to raise the prices. So that's why it's very important to have this very good data and to make sure that all this data is centralized and available to you. And another thing is that you review this at least on a monthly basis. Tracking data allows you to identify unnecessary expenses and boost your profits in your business. So here you go. I just shared with you 5 key ways on how to cut your costs and maximize your profits. I'm certain if you start implementing this right away, then you can find hidden cash in your business that you didn't even know that you had. And if you think you need help finding this extra hidden cash in your business, I can guarantee you that I can find you up to 100,000 in your business in just one session. And if you like to take advantage of that strategy session, click the link below and schedule the session. Thank you for watching. If you found the value in this video, please subscribe to my channel to accelerate your journey to financial freedom. And if you think that someone else will benefit from it, please share with them. And remember, financial freedom is all in your hands. And I will see you in my next video.